Welcome in, everybody, to the Boston Sports Summit. That's right. I am your host, Tim Barnard, where we have a big show for you tonight. We have a lot going on with the Red Sox and them signing Brian Bayo. Plus, we just got word that Lucas Giolito did not have to get Tommy John surgery, but he's still out for the 24 season. As for the Celtics, they keep their winning ways just continuing. I mean, they are the first team in the NBA this season to hit 50 wins, which is incredible. But they still are finding ways to struggle late in games, how is that going to affect them in the playoffs? And then next we have the Boston Bruins, and they just finished up their NHL trade deadline, making a couple acquisitions for Pat Maroon, Andrew Peeke, and how good are those guys? Are they even worth the trade capital that the Bruins spent, even though we all know that they didn't really have much to spend on anyway? And then we are going to be going over the Patriots and the dynasty once again. They have episodes 7 and 8 this time, talking about Deflategate and talking about the Patriots drafting Jimmy Garoppolo. But before we get into all of that, we got to start off with the big-hitting, hard-hitting news that is the NFL free agency. But before we get into that, guys, don't forget, please like, share, subscribe this show. Tell all your friends if they're big Boston sports fans or if they hate Boston sports, tell them to come to this show. It's going to be a great time for everybody. You can like, share. You can check out my social media on Instagram, Boston Sports Summit, on Twitter, Boss Sports Summit, YouTube, and then you can always check it out on the Grid Network. There we go. So every Wednesday, 7 p.m., Grid Network is where you find the Boston Sports Summit. But we have NFL free agency. The Patriots are clearly in a rebuild situation because, let's face it, they went 4-13. Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest head coach in NFL history, is out. No franchise quarterback for this team, seeing as they just traded Mac Jones to Jacksonville. And the Patriots have a rookie head coach in Gerard Mayo, who I don't even know if he deserves to be the head coach. Listen, he's a good guy. He seems like a smart man who's gone out and done business elsewhere, but he's only been coaching in the NFL for 5 years and never really ran the defense as a whole, because he had time split between him and I want to say Steve Belichick, one of Bill's kids. It was just kind of a debacle. So the fact that he is the head coach, a little surprising, but still rookie head coach, clearly in a rebuild type situation. And so the legal tampering period began on Monday, which is basically free agency, right? And as I've said on my social media, that the Patriots did a transition tag on Kyle Duggar, meaning that he can go out and still get offers from other teams, and that if the Patriots don't want to match the offer, they can just tell Kyle, thanks for your service, but you can go now. And the best part about that transition tag is the fact that, I don't know, the Patriots get no compensation if he leaves. It's not like any other sport with who's a restricted free agent. If you're a restricted free agent and you sign with another team and your first team tells you you can go off, that's too much money for our blood, then the signee team has to give up a certain draft pick to the original team. And the fact that the transition tag doesn't have that is really kind of blowing my mind, and it just is utterly ridiculous. You're telling me that you don't know what to do about Kyle Duggar, and you're basically saying that, hey, go figure out what your market value is and then come back to us. But we want to make sure that you will come back to us. Why would you do it like that? Why can't you just say to the guy, hey, listen, we really like you as a player. We really want you, but you can go figure out your market value and then just come back to us. No, we're going to force you to come back to us. That's the killer right there, which tells me that, one, they are too stupid to understand what the market value is for Kyle Duggar and the safety position as a whole. And also, too, you don't have a good relationship with him because you don't trust him enough to come back and let you know. You're the team that freaking drafted him. Granted, Bill Belichick in the last 10 years hasn't signed a top 3 draft pick in over 10 years, hasn't given that pick a second contract, in other words. So players drafted from the first round to the third round for the last 10 years have not signed a second contract. But Bill Belichick ain't here anymore. How did you mess that up? I'm looking at you, Kraft family, because who else? Who else was there? So they put the transition tag on Duggar. They kept Michael Onwenu, which I think is a good move because you need to shore up that line. As I would call Onwenu like an above average tackle. He's not elite by any stretch of the imagination, but he's good. He gets the job done. He's a good tackle. So they needed to keep him, and glad they did. They also re-signed Jalen Reagor. Why? It just an extra body. He's not going to play. And I heard somebody say that, he's a good special teamer. He's a good kick returner. Well, in case you didn't realize, they're siphoning that position out of the game anyway. So why are you bringing him back? He's not a good receiver at all. He's just an extra body in case somebody gets hurt. Stupid. They re-signed Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Josh Uche, and Anthony Jennings, which all those guys, Hunter Henry, been a good, consistent player. Signed for way too much money when we first got him. But now I think it's a reasonable price. He, again, solid guy. Him and Mac Jones had somewhat of a decent rapport that, hey, he relied on him pretty heavily. And Hunter Henry was able to bail out Mac Jones a couple of times. Kendrick Bourne is also a good pickup because I thought he was actually going to have his best season last year. He was on pace for 800 yards. And then, of course, he got hurt, tore his ACL. So I think it's for, fairly good money. I think it was 3 by 19. And that's where, I can live with it. And I like Bourne. He's a good guy. Seems like a really good, locker room guy. And so I'm very, happy that they brought him back. But does that mean that the position at receiver is done? No. The position at receiver is long from done. I'll get to that in just a minute. Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings. Uche signing for $1 by $3 million, worth up to 8 is wild to me because he at least had 11 and a half sacks, and he's a good player. So hearing that he got more money elsewhere but decided to stay, I think tells you a lot. I think he tells you that he's a big fan of Gerard Mayo and that he really wants to be here. He wants to be a Patriot, and that's for a team that just went 4-13, a little surprising. A little surprising, seeing as, he came in right around that transition period from Brady to Newton to Mac Jones. And then Anthony Jennings. I thought Anthony, got to make sure I get that right, Jennings outplayed Uche last year. I thought he was getting after the quarterback a lot better than Uche did. I thought Uche disappeared more and more as the season went on. And so glad they kept those guys. And then through the legal tampering period, they went out, signed running back Antonio Gibson. They brought back for a second term Jacoby Brissett, signed Cleveland's linebacker Sinon Takitaki, signed tight end Austin Hooper, and brought in offensive lineman Chukwuma Okorafor from Pittsburgh. And, all good guys. I mean, Antonio Gibson is definitely more of a third down back, more of a receiving back. And with the rise of Brian Robinson for the Commanders, Antonio Gibson, took a back seat. He took a back seat and became more of that third down back and proved himself because he's in the top 10 of pass blocking for running backs, which, if you were raised under the Patriots and Bill Belichick and all of that, you know how much important pass blocking is for the running backs, making sure that they can pick up on the right blitzer and the right defender who's going to be coming after and who, heck, is going to be breaking through the line earlier, right? I mean, that's how basically we won one of the ways we won Super Bowl 51 against Atlanta. Dante Hightower lined up in the 9-tech out wide. He blitzed. Freeman never even saw him. Goes right by, strip sacks Ryan. We get the ball. The rest is history. But Jacoby Brissett, I mean, that's really, I think, the story. Out of all the guys that they signed during the legal tampering period, I think Jacoby Brissett's like the real story because, yes, he's coming back for a second term with the Pats, but what can he do? Do I feel confident in Jacoby Brissett leading this team for 17 games next year? No. And if you do, I'm going to argue that you're delusional because Jacoby Brissett has been an average player, most of his career, and he had one good year with the Colts, but he never won the starting job, right? I remember that Houston Texan game like it was yesterday back in 2016 when Brady was dealing with his 4-game suspension. And Jacoby Brissett barely threw the ball. Like, he threw it enough, but it was not him throwing the ball that helped us win that game. It was him running the ball and us just running it down the Texans' throats that game. So having him back, I don't know. There were so many. It feels like such a safe move. And everyone, says that, he's a great locker room guy. And I don't blame them. Like, Jacoby Brissett seems like a really good dude, really good locker room guy. And yet, is that going to move the needle for me in terms of what's going to happen next season? No. If anything, we basically brought back almost the same guys that went 4-13 and got rid of our starting quarterback in Mac Jones. So do I feel like Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett? Honestly, yeah, I think I kind of do. I think he's a little bit better. Not by a lot, but I think Mac Jones, when given the right coaching and when he is able to get his head on straight and believes in himself, I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback. So, am I excited that Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback for the New England Patriots as it stands when you could have had guys like Kirk Cousins? You could have had guys like Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, right? I mean, it's the signings that they did, for the most part, seem basic, simple, and with these signings, I don't feel confident that, okay, we're a playoff team. The Patriots are back in the playoffs. That's how I feel right here, right now, based on the first 3 days. Well, the official free agency period started at 4:00 today. So the 2.5 days worth of legal tampering, this is how I feel. The Patriots are back into the playoffs. No, not even close. If anything, we are the same, one win better or one win worse. That's what I believe right now. And again, everything is subject to change. There's still plenty of the offseason left. There is still the NFL draft to come. There are still trades that the Patriots are being discussed on. And I am, hoping that they can pull off a move. And as I talked about several weeks ago, actually maybe a month and a half ago, when it came to this free agency class, I'm not mad that they're not spending. I can't be, because I said it's not a strong class. And I am one who is true to my word. I understand what I said and I am not going to go back on it. So by understanding that this is not a strong free agency class, there were moves to be had and to still be done. But, I still look at this as kind of like a blah type of move. I would have been excited had the Patriots gotten Saquon Barkley. I would have been excited had the Patriots signed Kirk Cousins or even Gardner Minshew. And that, to me, felt like the ideal bridge quarterback. Those two guys, Kirk and Gardner Minshew. Saquon, I just liked because, hell, if you could have Saquon and Ramondre as, your running back tandem, damn, that's a good running back tandem right there. And you definitely didn't need to do a, first, second down back. You could alternate with that easily. But the ideal bridge quarterback, in my opinion, was Kirk Cousins or Gardner Minshew. Because with Kirk Cousins, he's definitely older. Yes, he signed a 4-year deal with Atlanta. There were reports before the tampering period that he was going to stick around for 2. He wanted 2 at 90, making 45 a year. But with Kirk going 4 and 180, getting 100 guaranteed, I think that's a deal the Patriots could have and maybe should have done. Because I am of the belief that if you take a quarterback, early on in the draft, there is a very, very, very few that can jump in right away. First training camp completed, first preseason completed, week 1. This is our guy. The rookie is our guy. And Mac Jones, I thought, did a serviceable job doing that. I think had not Patricia came in and all that nonsense happened last year, or technically 2 years ago, but had it not happened for the 22-23 season, I think Mac could have been a better, more solid quarterback. Peyton Manning took his lumps in his rookie season, leading for most interceptions by a rookie quarterback. So I like the idea of taking a guy who has been in the league, he's a veteran, he's played for quite a while, him mentoring willingly or inadvertently mentoring the young kid, and then a couple of years down the road, it's like, all right, hey, thanks, thank you, you're done, we're good. And Bill tried to do that with Jimmy Garoppolo, as they talked about in the Dynasty on episode 8 last week, and talk more about that later. But that's what I thought Kirk would have been great for, because Kirk has made so much money in his NFL career that he's got nothing to lose. He really has nothing to lose by training this young buck. That's it. It's all he needed, basically. So I thought that Kirk Cousins would have been a great fit for New England. Now, whether or not he wanted to be here, I'm not even bringing that up. I'm just saying that would have been the great fit. Also, for a bridge quarterback, I love Gardner Minshew. I love Gardner Minshew coming out of Washington State. I thought he had this, charisma, this moxie. He is just looks like a funny guy, and someone that you could really build around, at least as a solid quarterback for your future. And I thought he would have been a great fit here, because if we didn't take a quarterback at number 3, right? If that was the Patriot way, they don't want to take a quarterback at 3. Here, we got this young kid who's, I think, 27, 28, Gardner Minshew, and he's going to come in, he's going to play, and you know what? We can sign him to a 2-year deal, and if he performs well after year 1, here it is. Scrap the rest of that deal. Here's an extension. There you go, right? We get him for at least 5 more years after that. So almost like a proven deal for Minshew, but we also have the young kid drafted later on in the draft, where it's like, hey, you can learn. If Gardner sucks, then eventually, probably near the end of the year, you'll come in and then we'll deal with Gardner however we deal with him. And then you're going to be the starter for the, what's this year, 24-25? Okay, the 25-26 season. So that is the reason why I like Gardner. And then plus, too, he nearly led the Colts to a playoff berth. He was that close. And that game versus Houston, week 18, was electric to watch. So with all of this going on, one of the questions that I have is, what is their direction heading into the NFL draft, right? Because everybody wants to have their opinion. Everybody wants to say the Pats are going to go quarterback, the Pats are going to trade out, the Pats are going to do this, blah, 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 blah. There's so much going on, right? And I look at it like there's technically three directions the Patriots can head after bringing in Antonio Gibson, Jacoby Brissett, re-signing some of their much-needed positions. And the first direction being they're going to draft the quarterback at number 3. Whoever's sitting there, whether it be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, they're going to draft him. I'd be shocked if Caleb Williams falls to them at 3. I highly doubt that's going to happen. There's lots to talk about the Bears trying to trade Justin Fields, but the Bears are taking Caleb Williams, and then it's just, okay, are we taking Drake May or Jaden Daniels? The Patriots feel comfortable. It sounds like that's going to be it. That's what they're going to do. The other direction they could head in is draft a top receiver or tackle at 3. And it's not a bad idea. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., number 3, seems to be like the stud number 1 guy that this team desperately needs, as well as a stud offensive tackle. A huge fan of Joe Alt after watching the combine. The dude looks extremely athletic. He's 6'8" and like 3/4, so he's basically 6'9". I mean, he is a mammoth of a man who is agile, who can move. I thought his 3-cone drill was pretty damn impressive. So they could do that at 3. Or they could trade back, require more assets, and then wherever they trade back to, preferably within the top 10 or top 11, if Minnesota gives up their pick, that's where, okay, we take the best available guy. In other words, we're going to take a receiver. We're going to take the offensive tackle, whether it be Joe Alt or the Penn State kid who I just cannot pronounce his name for the life of me. And then after we draft that kid, we'll jump back into the later in the first round and take Michael Penix, Bo Nix. I want to stay the hell away from Spencer Rattler because Spencer Rattler scares the crap out of me as a Florida Gator fan. He's a guy who's, as you can see right there, go Gators. That's right. Chomp, chomp. I watched Spencer Rattler. The dude crumbles with so much ease. He is weak-minded. He's not good. He's good enough, but not anywhere near leading this team, this organization out of a 4-13 stint this year and in the future. Yeah, I'm never gonna show this again, but yeah, Marcus Goldenose, please, yeah. That hurts. That hurts saying that. So go Gators. But ultimately, my thoughts on what I want them to do is just like draft day and Kevin Costner writing on the little post-it note he has throughout the whole film. No matter what, trade back. Find somebody right now to take 3. I don't like the reports of them being comfortable taking anybody. And again, this is Lion season, so it's understandable that note is out. That idea that, hey, the Patriots are comfortable with taking Jaden Daniels or Drake May. I don't like that. I don't like that talk. I don't like that thought. So find somebody right now, whether it be the Chargers, whether it be the Vikings, and not for nothing, the further you go back in the draft, in other words, if the Vikings at 11 want to jump up to 3 and you go to 11, yeah, the Vikings are going to have to pay a massive haul to jump that far up versus the Chargers at 5. The Chargers are going to have to pay a big haul, but I don't think it's going to be as lucrative as what Minnesota could give up. So I want them to trade back no matter what, because this is a very deep tackle class, is a very deep receiver class, and what seems to be a seemingly deep quarterback class once you get out, just with the top 6 quarterbacks, right? So I want them to trade back because this is not going to be a one and done type year. Gardner Minshew could have been the guy. Kirk Cousins could have been the guy, either one, that could have given this team a playoff push, right? A team that come mid to late December, we're playing games that are worth getting into the playoffs for. Yeah, you know what I mean. But with Jacoby Brissett, that doesn't feel like it. And no matter what, I'm very comfortable with the idea that Jacoby Brissett can help and train and teach the young quarterback, no matter who it is. I'm a big fan of Michael Penix, even though he definitely has his injury history with him. And I actually talked about this on the Grid Network show, the 8 o'clock spot, every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. So check it out. I'm on there a half decent amount of times. And Bryson, you're my guy. But, dude, you keep screwing me on the points, man. Come on. Nah, you're my guy, Bryson. Thank you. But it's, that's what I want them to do. I want them to trade back. I want them to, make sure that they know what they're doing and can get more than one guy in this draft. I don't want them drafting at 3. I don't want them drafted at 34. And then I don't want them drafting at 60, whatever. Rounds 1, 2, and 3, get 3 guys out of it. No, that's not how you're going to come back from this. That's not how it's going to work. So that, to me, no matter what, little post-it note, give it to Elliott Wolf that come the time the Patriots are announced that they're on the clock officially for the number 3 overall pick. Post-it note, opens it up, trade back no matter what. All right, let's trade back. There we go. So that is what I believe they should do. And Marcus Penix is no joke. True. Yeah, I agree with that. He, outside of the national championship game where it definitely was a little suspect, he was definitely no joke against Texas, man. He looked elite. And that receiving core was pretty good themselves. So next, I just want to bring up real quickly that you can get your own The Boston Sports Summit merch on the Grid Network. It is actually called Enter the Grid, myspreadshop.com. The link is posted in the description below. So we have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we got hats, mugs, anything that you're thinking of, we have it decorated with the Boston Sports Summit. So please go get some merch. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe all over Instagram and Twitter here. So don't forget, like, follow, share, subscribe. Tell everybody about the show.